Hello, welcome to the first of hopefully many market updates on this channel. Today I'm just going to be sharing some of my thoughts regarding Bitcoin and the sort of macro analysis, looking at both TA as well as FA, fundamental analysis, and really just kind of trying to break down why it is I'm so bullish on Bitcoin and why so many institutions and entities out there in the world are becoming bullish on Bitcoin. So, without further ado, welcome. Just remember, none of this is financial advice, and please do not take this as personal trading or investment strategy. So, yeah, this is just my personal opinions. And yeah, without further ado, we have Bitcoin on the macro. Like I said, pre 2012 to the end of 2020, where we're at. And first off, I would just kind of like to talk about the general trend that you see here. It's obviously up and to the right, but more specifically, we have these two similar looking events, right? And you can see where we're at now is actually kind of the end stages of this previous cycle that happened. So before I go into that, what are these vertical lines? All right, you can ignore these indicators down here for now because these are used more for trading on smaller time frames. So these aren't as useful at these larger time frames like we're looking at now on the weekly. So what are these vertical lines? These vertical lines are halving events. These are times in which the supply of Bitcoin decreased over time. It decreased in half. So as many of you know, and some of you might not, Bitcoin is created every 10 minutes in a block. This is simply just a group of transactions. These are all connected in what we call the blockchain, which is one of the main underlying sort of fundamental technologies behind Bitcoin and what really kind of sets it apart from other digital currencies and potential assets is this blockchain ledger, right? And so, yes, we know Bitcoin is given out every 10 minutes, every block. We know that miners who are mining cryptocurrency, all they're doing is they're providing, their computational power. They're providing, their graphics card and potentially their, other components. The graphics card are looking at their processor, and so they're giving up some computing power in exchange for a small portion of that Bitcoin being created, as well as transaction fees, which are added on top of that. But essentially, these miners, all they are is they're giving up some computational power, for the network. So they're actually allowing this network to exist, and it exists decentralized only through a network of other users. So that's the decentralized kind of blockchain nature of Bitcoin, and these halving events that I mentioned play into it very specifically. So these are times in which the rewards per block every 10 minutes are halved, cut in half. So the important point to see is the price action that followed these halving events. So we can see in the past when Bitcoin was halved from 50 to 25, we can see that the price actually increased substantially afterward. We then saw this pattern play out in which Bitcoin actually found a bottom on a previous support, found a bottom. It was able to break through this cloud. It then fought the trend line, was able to break up above the trend line. It retraced a bit due to this halving, but then we saw this exponential rise to that 20K point that we all know and love. So that right there is what makes Bitcoin so special, right? Is this decentralization, but on top of it, it's the deflationary nature of Bitcoin. So if I scroll to the left here, we can see that over time the supply is decreasing, right? So if you plot this over time, you can see that Bitcoin actually there's less and less created until the very end, 21 million, which will be around 2035, and then there will be no more Bitcoin ever created. All right, and so this was done actually to mimic the extraction of natural resources from nature, but it's different in that we can never find some new supply of Bitcoin like we could gold in the asteroid belt or palladium deep in the earth. There will never be more Bitcoin found, and so the mining, is kind of a misnomer there in that people cannot mine for future Bitcoin that is not known now. So Anyways, that's what really kind of creates such a fixed supply asset with Bitcoin, and what really makes it such a powerful, asset and potential store of value in the future. So every other currency is inflationary, meaning that with other currencies, with the US dollar, for example, as we add supply, right? This year, for example, we've added 20% of the total money supply is from this year. Of all US dollars, 20% has been printed this year due to the unfortunate COVID crisis and financial crash that soon followed. So with fiat currencies, with anything really but Bitcoin, as we add more supply and the quantity demanded doesn't change, the price, the value, it goes down. Bitcoin is the one asset that's not that. Bitcoin, as we add more supply, we've seen over and over again, we've seen that the price increases, all right? And so that's what this is talking about here. If supply decreases over time, but demand increases. Now, we're really talking about quantity demanded, because we know that demand does not affect supply directly, but we know that quantity demanded does. So supply decreases over time like we've seen, but the quantity demanded increases, then, well, what happens to the price? And that's the big question. But as we can see on this macro trend, it's leaning towards that 100 to 300K mark. And you can see, I think, why. Previously, we had that retracement after we found almost a new high. We then created a new high, retraced, and continued that exponential rise. So for Bitcoin, we have now found a new high. Just a few days ago, we were actually able to create a high of just below 20K, but a new high comparatively. And today, we've actually broken above that into this 26, 28 zone. So, or 20,007, 20,008. Excuse me. So, this is where we're at currently. And for all the reasons I just stated, because of its deflationary nature, as well as its decentralized nature, as well as the increasing adoption, I will mention, I don't have the information right here to show you guys, but institutional investors are more interested now than they've ever been. It's quite interesting. They didn't really care too much at 9,300, but they seem to care quite a lot at 19,300. So tomorrow we're going to see Michael Saylor is purchasing 650 million worth of Bitcoin for his investment hedge fund, and Mass Mutual Insurance just bought 100 million worth for their treasury. So we're seeing institutional investors, old gold bugs, hedge funds, trading firms. We're seeing that real institutional money starting to really buy in. And they're buying in at these levels at 19, 20K. So yeah, for all the reasons I just stated, I really do believe that we're going to see continued increases in the price with Bitcoin, as well as continued adoption and understanding. As the masses really start to wrestle with and really begin to understand what Bitcoin is and what problems and issues it solves day to day. So I think I'm going to leave us here. Stay tuned. I'm going to have some more market updates coming soon, where I take a bit of a briefer look at the TA, specifically looking at different altcoins and cryptocurrencies, as well as potential investments, and potential entry zones for those coins. So make sure to stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment, do all that fun stuff. And check back later. Appreciate you. Stay safe, have fun, and don't forget to stop and sleep sometimes. All right, have a good one. Bye.